For today's practice, you'll need a blanket or a cushion, or maybe both if you like, and 2 blocks. So hip pause if you don't have those right now. And then we'll begin today's practice in a seated position. I'm going to suggest Sukhasana, the easy pose, or the pose in which we seek to create ease, which means that we'll have our feet stacking underneath the knees, crossing at the shins. If it's more comfortable for you, you can take the ankles to cross, or of course you can sit on the heels. Either way, I would suggest sitting on a cushion or blanket, or both, as you can see like I have, or you can sit on a block to elevate the hips even further. And so we take this cross-legged position, basically any position where we can feel a certain sense of steadiness. So place yourself on your props. In fact, I'm going to take another block. So that you can sit easily for a few moments. Once you have placed yourself in certain ways so that you can find your 2 sit bones, distribute your weight evenly between the 2 of them so that you can feel yourself steadily balanced, and let the hands rest on the knees, maybe palms facing down for today. And then take a big breath in and elevate your spine so that it rises up all the way from the sit bones to the crown of the head. Take a big breath and let the breath originate at that space between the 2 sit bones and travel all the way to the top of the spine. Let it circulate around the space around the top of the skull and then descend back down, cascading down the spine. And as you reach the base of the exhale, let the 2 sit bones ground further down into whatever you're sitting on. One more time, take another inhale from that very base at the centre of the earth, through the centre of the spine, and let it ripple up through the spinal column all the way to the crown of the head. If you like here, you can sigh and settle into the practice. And again, let the body drop, let the sit bones root down into the earth heavily and steadily, and letting the palms rest on the knees, the arms release and the neck releases. And here we settle into this easy position. So we start to work with the breath for the first few moments. So already we've made a connection with the breath by finding that inhale, that grounded exhale. So let the breath enter the body again through the nose. And as you exhale, let the breath exit the body as you settle down. All the way to the very base of the exhale, find the very lower belly and that gentle tuck. Then as you inhale, we're going to shape the breath with a count. So inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Let the breath come up to the top of the crown of the head and stay there for 2, 3, 4. We exhale, let the breath travel down the spine. 2, 3, 4. And at the base there, hold the breath out for 2, 3, 4. Inhale, let the breath travel up the back of the spine for 2, 3, 4. Hold and pause at the top for 2, 3, 4. Exhale, let the breath drip down the front of the body. 2, 3, 4. And nestle down into the earth again as you hold on the exhale for 2, 3, 4. Inhale up the back of the spine for 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top, circulating around the crown in the sky for 2, 3, 4. Exhale down the front of the body. We cascade all the way down 2, 3, 4, and settling into the base of the belly for holding. 2, 3, 4. Inhale, we start the cycle again from the base of the spine, travelling out to the crown. 2, 3, 4, and pausing there. 2, 3, 4. Exhale, drip and drop down the front of the spine. 2, 3, 4, releasing into the earth and holding there. 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold at the very top. Find that suspension of the breath. 2, 3, 4. Follow it down the front as you exhale and release. 2, 3, 4. And settle in the earth. 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale, travel up the spine and reach all the way to the crown and float there, suspended on the breath. 2, 3, 4. Exhale, release and soften the body further as you drip down the front. 2, 3, 4. And pause, suspend the breath on the exhale. 2, 3, 4. Inhale, up the spine. 2, 3, 4. And pause and rest. 2, 3, 4. Exhale down the front. 2, 3, 4. Pause and hold. 2, 3, 4. The last round. Let the breath travel up the spine. 2, 3, 4. Here, hold. 2, 3, 4. Release the body as you exhale. Let the breath drip down, wash down the front of the body. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Let the natural breath come back. Now we're not controlling anymore, but just watching. Observe how the body feels now. How you feel energetically. How the landscape of the mind maybe is shaped and released a little from that breath practice. And use this subtlety of your attention to draw it inwards and see how do you feel in the body right now. As each breath comes in, can you allow it to weave in between the textures, spiraling around your bones, going through your muscles, washing through the patterns of your connective tissue. Discover how you feel now at the beginning of the practice. And set an intention to let your awareness be so deeply interwoven into what's going on for you physically. In this yin practice, I will give you suggestions of different alternatives and variations of postures. And even in a single posture, we have so much variation of how deep we can go, how long we can spend, how subtle our attention can be. And for each of these, it's up to you. It's your body, your practice. And so you, in your intention and your awareness, you select what's going to be the most nourishing for you. No one can ever tell you from the outside. So refine your sense of hearing now. As the breath comes into the body, hear how it moves down the throat into the lungs. Hear how it weaves itself around your physical form. So take one more breath here. Let it fill you up. Let it be a way of you tracing and discovering the entire landscape of your inner world. And then exhale. Take your left hand down to the floor on the side of you and root the fingertips into the earth. As the right hand reaches up, pin your right hip down into the floor as you reach the fingers away, and take a breath. Fill up that right lung so much. As you inhale again, let the breath spiral all the way down to the lower back as you breathe in. And then exhale, take the right hand down, plug the fingertips down into the earth here, reach the left hand up. At the same time, the left hip presses down into the floor, rooting down into the earth. And as you breathe in, you spread the rib cage on the left side of the body so that so much breath can come in there. Again, so you can discover even more. Take another breath in. And then as you exhale, take the hand down. Maybe root all of the fingertips down into the floor, like you're plugging yourself into the earth. Plug your sit bones down. And again, as you inhale, let the spine ripple up so that you lift the crown of the head. We discover this curves of the spine, finding that concave space at the lower back, the lifting of the heart, the slight tucking of the chin, as you imagine like a thread, and the crown of the head lifting all the way up. Good. Welcome to the practice. From here, I'd like you to release the cross of the legs. If you were sitting on a block, you can remove that for now, but you might need it for where we're going next. We're going to come into a butterfly shape, and again, I'll show you different variations that we can take with various props. So I'm going to stay sitting on this cushion here, just to elevate the hips ever so slightly. It's up to you if you would like to keep that as well. And then walk your feet forward. So while we're not looking for feet close, Baddha Konasana, instead we want to walk the feet forward so they're almost in front of the face when we're going to fold. And so, if you find yourself rounding a lot in the lower back, just elevate your hips even more. So you can take a block and place it underneath, maybe not on a cushion, because that's not. Want to be steady, don't want to be sugary. Okay, so come and sit up on there. Now, that is one option for you to find, lose a little bit of that rounding of the lower back. Now, if you feel pressure on the knees, we don't want to feel any tightening here. I invite you to take 2 blocks and place them underneath the knees here. So these will be supported. So you want to feel the ability to relax into this completely. Now, what else? You can prop yourself like this. You can have a little cushion underneath you. And then we're going to start, hold on to the shins, to spiral into this. So elevate again the spine as you press the sit bones down into the floor. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale, reach the heart forward. So we're lengthening the spine as we reach forward. Again, we're not going to our fullest capacity yet. We're going to ease into this shape. So we start to discover the space around the hips. As we go around, we rotate, we close that angle of the hips and the torso, going forward. And then we move on to the other side, and then inhale, lean back. Feel that plugging down of the tailbone into the earth. Then we reach forward, lengthening the lower back. Inhale, back up. Again, exhale, go forward. Inhale all the way up. And then as you exhale, we're going to finally reach forward. And then drape yourself over your legs. Now here the intention is not for head to reach feet, but just to reach forward and close yourself over the legs here. As the spine lengthens forward, maybe reach with the crown of the head slightly. And then drape yourself. What I rather like to do is take a block and place it under the forehead so that the neck can relax. So we want to encourage spreading and releasing across the whole of the back, from the shoulders down towards the hips, so that we can drape And let all of gravity just wash off the back. You can even introduce here a texture to the breath. And feel how that combs through all of the tissues of the back as they drip down, letting the tailbone sink into the earth. At any time, if you find that the depth that you've selected is tugging a little bit too much, maybe that you can feel a pinching in the space of the hips, then just simply walk yourself back using the hands. Or of course you could even come to lie down and find a reclined variation of this posture. The same thing. So allow yourself to settle in here. Encourage a softening of the tongue and the eye sockets. And let the breath pool around the lower back. So we aim to find that spreading, the space where the hips meet the back and the spine. In this position, you can soften the soles of the feet. Whether your face is close to the feet or far away, create a relationship with the base of the body. Soften the soles and imagine that you could breathe in through the soles of the feet. Draw the inhale up the backs of the legs. The feet are far away from us so that we can feel sensation not so much in the lower back, well, in the lower back, yes, but not so much in the inner thighs, but more in the space of the hamstrings. And it's a subtle sensation here. But use your breath and your awareness to find that space. So as you inhale through the soles of the feet, let the breath wash up through the back seam of the legs. And let it pool around the lower back. Again, here you can lengthen the inhale as it spreads up the back of the legs and maybe pause. Then as you exhale, let the hips descend into the earth even more. And maybe at the base of the exhale, pause again. So again, breathe in through the soles of the feet, lengthen the breath, let it comb through your whole body as we start to sink into the practice. Feel how the posture maybe deepens slightly as you fill yourself with breath all the way to your edges. On the next breath in, spread your toes, activate your feet. Bring your attention to the soles of the feet. Feel what that does to ripple up through the whole of the legs. On the next inhale, start to walk the hands back again. Ever so gently as we ease back, unraveling the discoveries that we found in the lower back there. Now, maybe take the hands beside your hips as you tuck your tail. Use the hands to close the knees. Then take those soles of the feet to the floor. Hands come behind you, and very carefully we unravel here. You can use the breath or a little sigh to release. And with each of these postures, enjoy the after sensation. So what have you discovered in that place where you just spent time? Here, walk the feet forward again. And then keep the hands behind you. Plant the soles of the feet into the floor. In fact, spread the toes and put them down. Press down the heels, pinky toe side of the foot and the ball of the foot. Roll the shoulders back. And here for one breath, lift your hips forward. And tuck your tailbone down. So you lift your pubic bone forward, evening out the pelvis as you lift it higher. Plug down the fingertips and the toes into the floor as you breathe in. Exhale, push yourself back down onto the floor. Let the bones connect with the earth and then cross the shins here. Come forward. We take our tabletop around so we come onto hands and knees. Here, like we did with the feet, we plant the hands into the floor, spreading the fingers wide. And now we start to work with the tail. Take your imaginary tail or your real tail all the way down to the base of the tailbone and then send it up to the sky as your sit bones spread apart from each other. The fingertips press into the earth as you send the heart forward. And we spread out the spaces between the vertebrae at the front of the spinal column. Take an inhale. Then as you exhale, we tuck the tailbone, moving from the pelvis first. You should bring the tail forward as if you could touch your tailbone to your nose. Press the hands into the floor to round the top of the spine, even chin in towards the chest. Do the same thing again. Begin with the tail. Take your tail and spread it to the back wall, spreading the space between your sit bones as we open up the base of the spine, making this lovely curve in the lumbar. And then that ripples all the way through as we move the heart to the front of the room. As you exhale one more time, tuck the tailbone underneath. Draw the chin in towards the chest. So here in this curved position, so we push the floor away. This is the first curve of the spine. When you're a baby, you have this one curve in your spine. And then as you start to walk around, you find the second curve of the spine, the lumbar curve. And then also the cervical curve comes in. So inhale again, and we find that curve. So here we have our tilts of the pelvis, tailbone down, posterior pelvic tilt. And then as you inhale, we find anterior pelvic tilt, which just means tailbone towards the sky, making this lovely curve in the lower back. And the more we can have these curves in the back, the more buoyant our spine will be. So we're going to look for that in the whole of the practice. Do it one more time, tailbone up, heart forward. Then as you exhale, walk the hands forward a little bit. Tuck your toes underneath so you can feel the mat. And then push with your hands so you put your chest back. Now the toes are tucking. We press the toes down into the floor so you feel a spreading across the ball of the foot. Here, take a breath in. And then exhale again. Press your toes down into the floor so much so that you can feel the skin spreading on the sole of the foot. Good. Now press the fingertips down into the floor. Keep those toes tucking. Belly and the thighs are connected as you start to lift the knees as you inhale. And then stick that tushy up and towards the air. A very big anterior pelvic tilt. We've got the openness of the spine. Think about your sit bones spreading. And keep those knees bent. Here, take a big breath and imagine your spine lengthening from the tailbone to the crown. Leading with the top of the head towards the floor. As you can imagine space coming between each of the vertebrae. As the hands press down into the earth, so do the toes. Here, keep both knees bent, and then, as you inhale, straighten just the right leg a little bit. Rebend, inhale, and then exhale, left foot presses down. So we pedal out, but with purpose. So take your time here. So we start to explore the backs of the legs. And how does your thigh bone plug into the top of the pelvis at the top of the spine? The base of the spine, rather. So right heel down towards the floor one more time. Riding the breath, then left heel presses down. Bend both knees now. Stick your tushy up and towards the ceiling more. And then send your heels back the way. Now, they don't have to touch the floor. That's not the object of this. But I'd like you to rock the weight onto the ball of the foot so the toes can lift and spread. You can check out your toes, see if you can make maximum space between all of the toes. Lovely. Okay, inhale, come forward. Place the knees down onto the floor. And take the knees to the outside edges of your mat. So we're looking here for a wide-legged child's pose. Here, if you like, you can place your head onto a block or simply onto the floor as we come back down towards the earth. Here we close off again this angle between the hips and the lower belly and feel that spreading across the lower back again. Now here, can you let the breath travel up the inner seam of the legs? Perhaps you can feel a little tug of stretch across the inner thighs. If you can't really feel much of that, we can experiment with taking the feet out. So all I've done, take your hips up and take the feet out to the outside edges of the mat and then press back again. Here perhaps you get more sensation on the inner thighs. So that might not be necessary. You can stay in this little child's pose with knees wide. Or you can come into the tadpole shape. And let the heart soften. Press down a little bit into the the pinky side of the hand. And let your breath comb through the inner seam of the legs. Any pinching in the space around the hip, you can walk your hands back. But maybe here, let the breath come in. Perhaps suspend it at the top and spend a moment in that space. And then as you exhale, let the hips descend even more. And inhabit for a moment the space at the base of the spine, at the base of the exhale. On your next inhale, if your feet were to the outside edges of the mat, you can bring them together. Walk the hands back. And then we can slowly bring the knees back in. Now here we'll plant the hands again, tuck the toes. And again, begin by breathing in and sending your hips up towards the sky. The tailbone goes towards the sky to spread the sit bones. Press the hands and take the hips all the way up towards the ceiling. As we find again, downward facing dog. If you like, you can experiment again with the pressing of the heels back the way. Use the breath to comb through. Imagine the breath finding the textures in the belly of the hamstring, the very centre of the back of the thigh. Inhale now, look forward, and we'll step the right foot forward to the front of the mat. Place your left knee down onto the floor. Here, as you can see, I've got a blanket underneath the back knee. That's really nice. You might also even need or want a cushion under the back knee if your kneecap presses painfully against the floor. So we're going to be here in a little lunge. Now here I will suggest blocks so you can stay high. So we're going to come forward into a dragon shape. We'll begin with what they call baby dragon. So we're not going to go crazy with it. But what I would like you to do is find this heel pressing down ever so slightly into the floor. Like we did in downward facing dog, spread the toes, and how much surface area can you take up with the foot as you press it down into the floor. The hands stay on the blocks. As you send your chest forward, we start to explore the area around this hip. Here, as you press the toes down, we're going to guide the right hip back ever so slightly, and you can feel how the heel presses down into the floor more. as you breathe in, you are drawing the energy up through the sole of the foot. So we feel like a gathering of energy around this hip here. Now, if this is not an option for you, if your back knee is sore or if there's too much gravity pressing down into the hip flexor, I suggest for you just to invert it, take it upside down. As we come to lie down on the floor, you can either take your foot up towards you take your foot up towards the ceiling and either hold onto it, maybe the outside edge of the foot with a hand, or you can just interlace your fingers around the hamstring here. In the same way, we spread the toes and let the heel go up towards the ceiling. So we explore this relationship of heel to knee to hip, and then pull the right hip back and let the knee come in towards the chest. So wherever we are, we stay here for a couple more minutes. Whether you're upright or lying down on the floor, we're exploring the relationship between gravity and the body. And how does that work around these dense areas around the space of the pelvis? If you're upright, you can stay exactly where you are, or for the last few breaths, you can start to send your knee beyond the ankle. As we find an overstep, it's called, for this dragon. Here we're looking for closing the angle at the front of the ankle so that we can stretch across the back of the ankle here, pressing the heel down into the floor and finding a stretch across the Achilles. Now you might feel limitation here at the front of the ankle. Of course, that's how your bones are constructed. But we're looking for, how do we meet the earth with this first joint, the ankle joint? So what's happening with the Achilles? Can we use the breath to comb through that back of the leg? If you're lying down on the floor, you can just stay there. Or you can just circle the ankle and explore what is happening for you in that joint there. Good. Now, let's come back again, gently, slowly. And if you're upright like this, we're going to dynamically move. I'll show you lying on the back what we're going to do in a second. We dynamically move. We pull the hip back as we spread the toes. We send the chest forward as we straighten the front leg a little or a lot. So here, breathe. Then as you exhale, come back again into your lunging position, reasserting the heel down into the floor. If you're lying on your back, it's easier here. You simply hold on to the back of the hamstring and you start to bend and straighten. Now here, again, wherever we are, we're looking for sensation in the space, the belly of the hamstring. So you don't have to kick maybe a lot. You can, if you're on the floor, wherever you are actually, you can activate that front foot, spread the toes, and pull the toes towards your face. And the right hip is descending, so we're squaring the hips. So 3 times we ease into straightening a little or a lot, not seeking an end range of motion, but rather letting the fibres of the muscles move against each other in a fluid way. So we want to encourage the juiciness of those muscles moving across each other smoothly. Good. Now, I'll show again from the upright position. From here we're going to continue. We'll pause here for a second in this extended. Spread the toes of the right spread the toes of the right foot and let the chest go forward as you pull the hip back. Again, we're looking for a gentle anterior pelvic tilt, so you think about your tailbone going back. And imagine yourself breathing in through the sole of the foot as it goes through the hamstring all the way to the belly. Take another inhale, pause. And then exhale and pause. Inhale, rock yourself forward again. Then exhale, we come all the way back, straighten that right leg, and here you can either place a block underneath your hip and then take your foot up towards you. So I'll show from the upright position first, then I'll show the variation if you're on your back. So here we're looking for the left heel to come out to the side, and that right foot is going to be in front of your right hip. Now, maybe you need the block underneath your hip here, maybe you don't. See what feels okay as you come into this leg. As you come down onto the floor, if you remove the block and you find way too much tension across the front of the left hip, then that's too much. I'm going to stay high. We walk ourselves back here. Now a little or a lot, hands underneath the shoulders. We can look for a tucking of the tail. We're looking for the front of the leg now. So we find a slight posterior tilt. So you press the top of the left foot down into the floor. You can walk yourself back, again, a little or a lot. You might want to stay on your hands. You can come down to the elbows. Or if it's available, if you want to find a deeper stretch across the front of the left thigh, you can come all the way down towards the floor in this half saddle shape. Now, if you were lying on your back, here what we do, we simply roll over to the side, extend your right leg, roll over to your right side, and bend your left knee, and take your left hand to your left foot. You start to draw the heel in towards the bum. So we're lengthening across the left front of the left thigh in the same way. So you can think about drawing the pubic bone towards the lower belly as bringing the two hip bones towards each other. This is a great way of stretching the front of the thigh without putting quite so much pressure on the knee. So wherever you are, start to release that left foot if you're lying down. If you're in your saddle, we come back onto the elbows. Then we use the hands to walk all the way back up. Here with care, we start to unravel the left foot, straighten, ease back into the left thigh, and here first we unravel the legs by taking the knees wide into the windscreen wipers. And explore what's going on for you here in the left leg and the right leg. Reintroduce your awareness, guide it back into your sensation in your body. Cross your ankles, please, and let's come forward, step it back into downward facing dog. Here again we can bend the knees and send the hips high. Take a breath, let it spread all the way along the spine, all the way to the pinnacle at the top of the pelvis, and then exhale, let it cascade down the backs of the legs. As you inhale, look forward, step your left foot forward. So again we come into this lunging variation. You choose your variation. So you can either be upright here in this baby dragon shape, with the left heel pressing down into the floor and the hands on the blocks. Of course, if you like, we can come back to lie down, and this can be your variation instead, which is basically a dragon but upside down. Again, we're seeking what relationship we have with the sole of the foot. So if you can't reach your foot but you'd like to hold on here rather than the hamstring, you can use a strap and loop it around the foot so that you still have that contact with this first diaphragm of the body, the sole of the foot. So wherever you are, you're peeling your left hip back. So we find that squaring, that steadiness, that stableness in the pelvis. Let the sole of the foot be where your breath enters the body. And then allow gravity to act on you, whether you're upright or lying down. How does your body meet the floor? So take another breath from the sole of the foot all the way up and towards the hips. Press into your hands if you're on your blocks and start to draw your left hip back. Spread the left toes as you straighten the left leg a little. Good, so here we're going to rock again. So if you're lying on your back, you simply interlace the fingers around the hamstring and start to bend and re-straighten that leg. So we explore what's happening with the muscles of the hamstrings moving across each other. So the more fluidly we can move around all the different tissues in our own body, the more smoothly they can interact with each other. The more smoothly we can interact with the world. Good. So last time, inhale, spread the toes and pull the left hip back. And then we press the heel down into the floor ever so slightly so that we can lengthen and comb through the belly of the hamstring using the breath. You can again send your tailbone towards the ceiling, but we want to avoid any strong sensation at the attachment, the space where the hamstring meets the sit bones here. So bend the knee a little bit more to get it more into the belly of the thigh. Good. Now here again we come all the way back. So you can take your block and place it underneath your left sit bone. And then place the left sole of the foot down onto the floor. So we find our half saddle shape. The heel will come slightly out on the side of the hip so that you can go back. Good. Now if you were lying on your back, we again roll over to the left side this time. And then bring the right heel towards the tushy. So the front of the right hip, the right thigh can be stretched. Knee pointing towards the short end of the mat. And then the front of the pelvis gathering towards itself. If you're in your seated half saddle, you can come down to the elbows if you wish. Looking for a stretch across the front of this thigh here. Lengthening. And here again also you can tuck your tail underneath if you would like to give more of a stretch to the front of the thigh. If you have the space for it, if you like, you can come down. But know that it's not necessary. It just depends on what do you feel in your body today. So slowly fill your body with breath again. And then you can start to bring yourself back from wherever you were. Elbows to hands. With care, untuck your foot. And again, bring the soles of the feet to the floor. And then let the knees go wide. And let your attention come into the legs, the thighs, the knees. Savour the aftertaste. From here, bring the sit bones back towards your hands. And then extend the left leg forward. Take your right heel in towards you. Okay. So here you can be sitting on a blanket, or a cushion can come underneath the sit bones to elevate them. Like butterfly at the beginning, we want to find spaciousness across the lower back, and propping underneath the sit bones can help with that. So you can put one or many cushions underneath. Oh, that's really nice. So here we have a couple of options of where we're going to go. So whether you would like to find the inner thigh or the outer hamstring, it will determine which direction you're going to fold. If you want the inner thigh, if you know that that's a tighter place for you, or you can experiment in a moment as we try it, we can fold forward in front of you here, right directly between the angle of the two knees. So you can try that coming forward here. Or if you like, you can turn your torso to face the extended leg, the left leg, and then try folding here. So there'll be more of a closing of that hip, a compression around that left hip. But perhaps you will feel more across the lower back. Make your selection. And go only as deep as you find a place where the breath can circulate and where you can find an intention to drop and let the earth take your weight. Wherever you are, breathe into the soles of both feet. And if you like, you can let the head drop and drape yourself. Now, if you like to do even more, you can in fact extend both legs so that we can find tension across both inner thighs at the same time. Again, thinking about letting the soles of the feet being the source of the inhale. And you can either be upright on your elbows here, or if you have a bolster or a couple of blocks, you can elevate yourself to fold. But we can stay with this half variation. And I'll cue you when to change. If you are in the full double dragonfly, you can stay there the whole time as we swap sides. So if you're in the half butterfly variation, spread the toes on the extended foot. Let you use your hands or fingertips to walk yourself back up. When you get upright, the shoulders stacking over the hips, let the weight descend down through the sit bones. Bend the knee of the extended leg and draw it in and swap over. So we take the right leg in front now. And again, we choose where we're going to fold. It can be between the legs, directly in the angle. We'd like to access more of the inner thigh. Or we can turn the torso towards the extended leg and fold here. Let the sole of the foot be soft and sensitized. So you can feel even the texture of the air. And that goes whether you're in the half variation or the full variation. So the legs are alive, the breath is going up the back of the thighs, and then the back of the torso can drape and soften. If you like, you can use props to make that angle not quite so dramatic. And then feel what sensations come around the lower back here. Wanting a spreading, an opening, a gentle tugging. If anything becomes more dramatic, we use the hands to walk back. So we can inhabit this space and let the earth take our weight. Your next inhale, spread the toes of the extended leg. If it's both legs extended, you can spread all of your toes. Start to walk your hands back. So you come upright. Let the shoulders come over the hips. So the pelvis descends back down into the earth. Here you can use the hands to bend the knee that's extended. If both legs are extended, you bend both knees. Take your hands behind you and let the knees go side to side. Make any noises that you'd like to make. Let tension be released. And then take the soles of the feet to the floor again. Plant the hands, roll the shoulders back, tuck the tailbone down, and then send the tail between the knees forward. So that the front of the body lengthens. Soles of the feet press into the floor. Take another inhale. Exhale. Place yourself back down. Now here, for the last posture, feel free to take many props. So we've been extending over the, bending forward, flexing over the extended legs. So now we're going to put it all together and extend both legs in front and close that angle completely. Now, it can be quite intense, so we have lots of options for this. So you can sit on one blanket or cushion or many. Again, we're looking for the encouraging of that anterior pelvic tilt. Now, it's not going to be a big curve because we're folding, but we don't want it to be completely rounded and really uncomfortable and jamming into the lower back. So prop yourself as much as it can give you a bit more spaciousness in the lower back here. Now, a lovely option here also is to place a blanket underneath the backs of the knees. or indeed blocks underneath the backs of the knees, because we don't want to let it tug on the attachment. We don't want to let the ligaments be strained here. We'd like to stretch across the fascia there, the whole back of the leg. In fact, the whole back of the body. So whatever this pose looks like for you, we don't want the sensation to be localized. We want it to spread from the soles of the feet through the backs of the legs, all the way draping across the whole back of the body to the skull, all the way to the crown of the head. So we stretch what they call the whole western side of the body. So if we're facing the sun rising in the east with our front, that means that the back of us is the west side, the paschima. So find props that you need. Inhale to lengthen, and then drape yourself forward. Now here, if your back doesn't like this, we have a wonderful other option where you can come to sit beside the wall, as close as you can. Come to lie down, let the feet go up the wall, and let the soles of the feet meet the sky. And here in the same way we're stretching the back of the body, but just in a less intense way, having a slightly different relationship with gravity. Wherever you are, let it be gravity that does the work for you. Wherever you are, we're breathing in through the soles of the feet. You can also have a block underneath your head, so that it can be a space that you can inhabit. Prop yourself enough that you can yield and let the earth absorb you. Perhaps, if you like, you can again shape the breath. Inhale through the soles of the feet, let the breath travel up the backs of the legs all the way to the crown of the head, and maybe pause there. And as you exhale, let it all drip down the shoulders, and let the lower back spread as you pause in the exhale there, before the cycle begins again from the soles of the feet. Again, on your next inhale, spread your toes and let the breath come in through the soles of the feet. Activate the feet. Feel how the breath spreads all the way to the back of the lungs, filling you up, spreading your edges. Exhale maybe with a sigh. Let something drop into the earth. Shed a layer or two. Then as you inhale, so slowly, inch by inch, we start to walk back. Re-inhabiting the space, stacking each vertebra on top of itself. So we come back to being upright. If you have your legs at the wall, bend the knees and bring them in towards the chest. And very slowly roll over to the side. Come back to lie down on the floor. And take the feet as wide as the mat. Knees are going to knock in. We make a little teepee temple shape with the legs. And let the pelvis descend down into the earth. Be held by the floor. As the soles of the feet rest, maybe explore the texture of your mat using your toes. For one breath, press your feet down, maybe walk them slightly closer together so they're hip width apart. Tuck your tailbone underneath so we lengthen the front of the hips. Press the palms down, lift the hips up. Press down into the big toe side of the foot, the mound of the foot, the big toe mound. So your inner thighs are slightly toned. Again, breathe into the lungs and fill them up. Then exhale. Unravel the spine, upper back first. So draw your belly button in to put down the upper back, then middle back, and then lower back, all the way to the floor. You draw the knees in, gently, and then holding onto the kneecaps with your hands, draw little circles, one direction, massaging the lower back against the floor. And then in the other direction. So from here, let your knees rock over to the right hand side. Take your hands wide. Now here, if you like, you can either let the knees come all the way to the side, place a block between your knees. Or if you like, you can twist up the lower body. Take the feet up towards the ceiling. Bend the knees and then wrap the legs around each other. From here, you take the left knee is on top of the right. Take both knees over to the right hand side. The arms are wide, and then the gaze can come out towards the left hand side. Let your pelvis be held by the earth again, and as you breathe in, let the lower back spread. Turn your head back to the right hand side and then gently unravel the legs if you have them unraveled up, and then draw the knees back in towards the chest and give them a squeeze. Here we send the knees over to the left hand side, and again you can take the blocks, a block between your knees and let them rest like that. Gaze towards the right hand side. Or if you like, you can twist up your roots. Right knee on top of the left. And then let the knees walk over to the left hand side as your gaze comes to the right. The knees don't have to come all the way to the floor. In fact, you can place a block underneath the knees supported. And again, we want to encourage spaciousness across the lower back here. Unravel the legs if you have them there, and draw the knees back and towards the chest. Again, have a little roll side to side. And now we extend the legs forward. Feet as wide as the mat, maybe even wider. And then spread the toes, send your ankles left and right. Rotating the legs, even the thigh bones up in the pelvis. The hands can come to face up. Now here what can be rather nice is if you take a blanket and roll it up, place it underneath the knees, or a bolster if you have one, to encourage the lower back to meet the floor. Here we yield to the earth completely, so take a breath from the soles of the feet. Let it come all the way up to the top of the crown of the head and fill you up to the surface of the skin. Holding at the top here. Exhale all the way out. As you exhale, draw the navel to the spine. All the way out and hold the breath out there. Again, breathe in fully from the soles of the feet, spreading the toes in through the palms, all the way to the crown of the head, across the face. Now as you exhale, release the body completely into the floor, softening the soles of the feet, the knees, the thighs, the belly of the hamstring, the belly of the torso, the tongue in the mouth, the eye sockets, the shoulders and the palms. Let the floor take your weight completely. And let gravity settle you. So all the heaviest parts of you descend down towards the earth. And the earth can absorb and ground, taking in anything that you'd like to shed and leave behind. As your inhale starts to come back, spread your toes again. Sensitize the soles of your feet and your palms of your hands. And draw the breath in. Let it travel through your spine, making space between all of the vertebrae as you extend your arms overhead. Spread the toes and let the legs reach away from you as well. The whole body becomes so buoyant. Exhale. Bend the knees to place the soles of the feet on the floor. And with care, roll over to the side. Settle here for a second. Then finally use the hands against the earth to press yourself back up to sit. As we began, we find ourselves in this easy pose, Sukhasana. Let your two sit bones ground down to the earth. Let your attention come into your body again and notice any change. Feel how the breath moves through your tissues. Feel how your bones interact with the earth. As you inhale, lengthen the spine, find the curves through the lumbar, through the back of the thoracic, lengthening the cervical spine, the neck, until the crown of the head reaches up. Exhale. Join the palms. Lengthen the spine again. We take a breath in together. Now bow to yourself, bow to the earth, bow for this practice. Om Shanti. Thank you for practicing with me today.